First story. How have you handled staying in a relationship after infidelity 3+ years later? My biggest insecurities now would be my boyfriend's phone, meter 26F30, and his relationships with other females. He's so shady with his phone, and he tells me all the time that it's his and I shouldn't be concerned about it. It bothers me that it's on silent 24/7. He sleeps with it under his pillow. His notifications don't show. It screams I'm still cheating, but he just tells me that I'm insecure and not doing the work to trust him. It's been almost 2.5 years since the first time he cheated, and in his eyes I should have moved on already, and also that he's not the same person as he was before. I get it, but has done a lot of questionable things since then up until now, and it's hard for me to trust him. He has a passion for training at the gym, and a few years back I was totally against him training other females. He recently told me that he's going to start training people, and the old me would have made it into a problem. But I realized it's something he's passionate about, so I needed to grow up and just trust him. Especially because all the people he was going to be training were bigger people, his words, so I felt that he was actually doing something good. Well, today he told me he has a client that never showed up, and I didn't think much of it. He had left the room and miraculously left his phone in the bed. He takes that thing everywhere with him. And I saw he had a notification saying that a certain female started sharing her location with him. I found it so odd, because why would he need her location if they were meeting at a gym? I never said anything to him about it, because then he would know I looked at his phone, and that makes him get angry. I started asking him questions about the client that missed their session and asked who it was, and he told me her name. It was the same girl that shared her location with him. Somehow this escalated into an argument, and I pointed out to him that if I had a problem with him training before and now I'm letting my guard down, why can't he do small things to reassure me? If he could let me know about his sessions for the day and who he's training? He straight up told me that he doesn't need to do that, and that I don't need to know about who he's training or when. Not going to lie, this broke me. I don't ask for reassurance every day, and most of the time he says no. Why is this something he's saying no to? He previously told me, about 6 months ago, that we have a year, and if things don't get better that we need to part ways. He brought it up today saying he was serious about it. He doesn't feel like I'm doing any of the work to trust him, or make him feel safe enough to talk about things with me. But I, on the other hand, feel like I'm doing my best every single day. When I'm bothered by something, I just keep it to myself now. I don't fight with him about anything anymore, and it's mainly because I know his reaction to it will just be telling me that it's my own problem, and to figure it out, or to leave if I don't like it. After the argument, I ended up leaving his house. He wasn't letting me talk. He was disregarding everything I said, and also told me that my solo therapist sessions don't mean anything because he thinks I lie to my therapist. I told him we can be done, and even though that's not what I want, I don't feel like it will get better. Has anyone else been in a situation similar? Or have any advice or input? Any advice on your significant other, people close with the opposite sex? Second story. I had broken off an engagement about 1.5 years before we met due to my ex insisting on a one-sided open marriage for him, which also opened Pandora's box of infidelity throughout our entire relationship, as well as him telling me I'd never be good enough for him or anyone else either. I trusted this man with my soul, and he crushed it. Once I started dating again, just for fun, nothing serious, I was not overly trusting of anyone anymore. I constantly looked for signs of cheating, or for signs that someone would hurt me so bad again. That 1.5 years consisted of some fun stories and a few good guys. But when I unexpectedly met my husband, I had a huge restorative feeling in life. He is such a responsible person with extremely family-centric values. He fell in love with me immediately, which he said had never happened to him before. I liked him, but the in-love part came a little later for me, but once it did, it was incredibly strong. I didn't want to be away from him, because I loved being around him, and I wanted to make memories with him. We had talked about a future many times, but I was completely surprised when he proposed to me in an incredibly special way. It was way more thoughtful and romantic than I could have ever imagined. Even his parents were in on it, and they live 5,000 miles away and had never met me. We got married, had a super fun wedding, and life started moving quickly. New house, new jobs, and a few months later, baby number 1 on the way. Everything seemed great. He would get annoyed with me on occasion, but nothing major. While dating, there were 2-3 bad fights where I said I'm done, we are breaking up, and then we both would calm down and things would be wonderful again. One time he overreacted to me getting annoyed with him, and he threw a slice of pizza on the ground. It was 2 a.m. and we had both been drinking, but I never noticed any other anger issues. Also, I felt responsible for arguments as I suffered from retroactive jealousy disorder, which caused me to have severe anxiety. Fast forward 10 years later, we argue constantly. He says I project my mental issues, anxiety, onto everyone around me, that I'm super condescending and snarky towards him, that I do nothing in life to improve and I ruin his peace. I feel 100% that he doesn't listen and gets overwhelmed with everything way more than me. I do have a lot of anxiety, but it's usually because of him and I'm worried he doesn't love me anymore. There are days when he says he could never live without me and I'm the best things to ever happen to him. And then the next day I inadvertently trigger his anger and he says something that bothers me. I cry, we fight. I literally obsess constantly over my husband regretting me, not loving me, leaving me, hating me, etc. It has made me question who I am and my purpose, because I feel like I've done nothing but make another person terribly unhappy. We have talked it out so many times, but then things revert back to us annoying each other once again. I've tried therapy so many times but nothing seems to help. I often question if this is meant to be, but despite all the negative, I deeply love and care for my husband. The thought of not having him in my life makes me sick. TLDR, deeply in love with someone that does not match me emotionally, and I desperately want peace and happiness in our lives. Third story. I am very raw. Day 3 into discovery. My intuition told me something was off. Every time they met, I had sent texts with questions and very evasive answers or no responses until the next day. I am M43, she is F42/43. We have been a couple for 6.5 years. Yes, our sex life was in a rut for 2 years, but that happens on occasion. We have talked about wanting our intimacy back. I have been seeking work for too long. We have always talked to each other. Fights were never loud, conversations that were mature. That began to change after their first 2 supposedly non-physical meetings. I had always expressed my doubts about his true intentions. I was much more concerned due to how she nonchalantly said she was meeting with her friend to a group chat with my friends. Literally sent her a name. She was immediately defensive on the friendship, saying he has always been a good friend. They dated for a short while before she and I became exclusive. He was the last remaining friend, but their meetings were very infrequent. Coming back to my first gut punch outreach, and finding out some of the sordid details just 15 minutes ago of that meeting, my instincts and intuition has been 100% accurate. At least, I know that the intuition means that there is connection to her, but it also means that it's obvious that I'm overlooking it. You may be wondering how these meetings are even happening. I am also dealing with a crisis at home within my family, ongoing and seemingly never-ending mental health issue with a sibling. I am often away on weekends to help with that. So yes, she is left to her own devices, but we text or call often. I have yet to know more. I plan to ask for more information. As much as she says it's physical and not emotional, I know it isn't. Ultimately, one very drunken night followed by 3 or 4 more meetings. Last 2 were not overnights, she says. She is not perfect. She has cheated on past boyfriends and was open about it. I knew that going in. I thought I would be different. She would be better with me. Hero-savior complex is a big possibility on my part. Point is, I caught her by accidentally grabbing her phone, which hasn't been out of her sight or hands in 3 or so months. Opened it to call my phone, but intuition said to check texts. There were questions and asks from him for more nudes. Then the phone died. She walked out wondering where her phone had gone. 2 hours later, I confronted her carefully and calmly. She knew she was busted. She gave me the trickle truth. It's still a trickle. I left the app and have not been able to think or do anything good for myself. Rumination, pain, heartache, then cold logic asking for more information followed by seemingly tragic ups and downs. I desperately want to dox him. I won't. I do not want to talk to close friends and family. This isn't their business, yet. I know I should give myself space, but I also want to desperately be right next to her, holding her. I know therapy is a good idea. I also know self-care is imperative. I'm really stuck. Who knows what tomorrow or even the next hour brings? The turmoil is real. The pain is sweltering and the heart is about to give up. Fourth story. The fact that I have to write this and seek advice truly sucks. I'm 30, was married to my wife for 6 years, together total for 9 years, F35. We have 2 beautiful boys together, 3 and 2 years old. My wife recently called off our marriage and said she was done with this life and didn't want it anymore. I found it off because things were pretty normal for the most part. I later dug around and found out she was cheating on me beginning of March while I was in school to become a firefighter. During this time she was in between jobs and had free time. She built a connection with an older gentleman, on the heavier side, and he's older, close to his late 40, early 50 probably. They worked together and they would go to lunch together during work hours and built a connection that I was not privy to during our marriage. She cheated on me right after we dropped off our kids at daycare, said goodbye and I love you like a normal couple would, and she drove right to a hotel to be with this gentleman. I didn't find this out until after the breakup as a reminder and done some digging. Turns out she's still with this man and thinks she's in love with him. Get this kicker, he's also married, and told my wife he would leave his for her so they can be together. That was early March and he's still with her. But still with my separated wife now. Also, we live in the same house still because financially we can't just leave. We have to sell our house and go separate ways. We live in separate rooms on opposite sides of the home and barely share contact unless it has to do with the kids. She filed for divorce from me with a lawyer without talking to me about it, and I'm being served papers. So now I have to get a lawyer to protect myself, and the agreement is nothing changes with the kids. And we want their routine to be the same with school and visits, 50-50 custody. And she just wants both of us to go our own ways and move on. Cause clearly she has. What pains me is this woman treats me as a ghost now. The woman who I'm still madly in love with and still see her the same as when she met me down the aisle. The same woman I saw give birth to both our kids, but she doesn't love me anymore and isn't attracted to me and wants to be with him and is attracted to him now. What do I do? How do I cope? How do I move on? I need all the help I can get because I'm slowly losing my mind. And I've just been in a state of anger, depression, betrayal, and just feel like I never knew this woman at all. The woman I married would never have done this to me. First couple of weeks, I won't lie, I would corner her and show her what I was to her and what she meant to me and how our family was more important, but her mind was fully made up and she didn't want to hear it. I was there for her at her lowest points of her life and helped build her into the woman she is. She was a drunk and I broke that curse, and she was sober ever since. IDK, what I did wrong to deserve this. She claims I was a good husband, a great father, and a good person. So IDK, what to do or how to act? Please help. Fifth story. I'm 24 minutes and I've been in a friend with benefits with this woman, 41F, since February. She's stunning. Context: she is my co-worker. We both work for the same company but in different departments. She's a manager and I've been her subordinate for like 1 month when we had to work together. When I first met her, she wasn't wearing her ring. She also told me straight in my face that she's very attracted to me since first day. I asked her if she is married or in a relationship, but she said she's divorced but have 3 kids. 2 of them are under 18. In less than a week, we started to have sex at my apartment. Then she once called me. I could tell she was in the bathroom, but I didn't think anything of it. And I told her I'm not interested in a relationship, but we can be FWB if she wants. She said she will think about. Next day she came to me and told me she agrees. Then we fucked in the bathroom at the workplace. Some red flag. Every time she would come to my place, she would turn her phone off, or if she would receive a call, she would leave the room. Of course I didn't give a fuck as we are not exclusive, and she can do whatever she wants. We kept having sex at my apartment, going on dates. Keep in mind, I didn't see all the red flags because I didn't care what she was up to. Out of nowhere, I got a call yesterday from another female coworker and asked why am I such a fucking asshole and a homewrecker. I was confused and I asked her why is she calling me name. Then she told me that I'm an asshole for fucking another man wife. I was like, WTF? So basically, this woman isn't actually divorced. She is still married in a happily marriage, which make me even more confused as she has told me many times that she would love to have an exclusive relationship with me. And even more, but I always told her I'm not interested in more than just casual sex. Now the hard part, of course, if I was in her husband's place, I would do anything to be told if I was cheated, and of course I want to tell him everything. But how do I cope with the fact that I'm going to break a fucking 20 years marriage? I don't want to be the homewrecker here. If I knew she was married, then none of this would have ever happened. I also have some evidence, but not hard ones. Is there any way I could tell the husband without getting myself involved? My best idea is just to cut her off and move forward, but he is a man like me. We're both men and men need to help each other. And I know deep down that if I don't tell him I'm going to regret it. I thought better about this and I will end things with her but will not tell her husband, at least not now. It's my fucking career at risk here, and I'm not willing to screw my life over just because I want to be a good man. If I'm telling the guy that I've been fucking his wife for months, even if I didn't know she was with him, he might report us to HR, which would result in losing the job that I busted my ass for. I already spoke to the female coworker who called me out and she promised me that she won't report anything to HR or to the husband. I will break up with my coworker and tell her that I know about her husband and I'll shut my mouth of, I have debts, rent, loan to pay. I can't afford to risk my job just because I wanted to do a good act. I might help the husband, but he might destroy my career. So yeah, call me names or whatever you want. I won't say anything until I find a better job at a different company. It's not my job to keep their relationship in good terms, it's their job. If his wife don't care about his feelings, then why would a stranger me do? I'll make another update once I find a better job. I was already looking for one in New York, so once I have everything in order, I will expose her. Not sure if you guys remember me, I'm the guy who's been in a FWB with a coworker. It's been a few days since I found out that she is actually married. Her husband also found that on the same day. Someone from our workplace sent him photos with us. So on the same day she came to my apartment. I told her that I'm not gonna say anything to her husband. I didn't know he knew already. And that we have to stop because I don't want to lose my job. She then said she doesn't want to break up and that she better unalive herself than doing this. Of course she was just bluffing. Well, a few hours later she came back to my place. She had bruises on her body, her husband beaten her up. I let her stay at my place since that day, because her husband threatened her he will shoot her if he finds her home, when he comes back from his sister. She didn't go to work since then as she was complaining about ribs pain, so I took her to the hospital and yeah, she has some small fractures on her left ribs but nothing serious. Her husband also called me and sent me messages saying he's gonna end my life, that my days are counted. I tried to tell him that I didn't know she's married, but he refused to believe me, then came at my workplace yesterday and tried to fight me. I'm not proud of what I did, but in self-defense, I beaten the shit out of him, then got his ass beaten by the security, then got arrested. He doesn't know where I live and he thinks his wife is somewhere else. He also tried to contact HR, but thanks God, he didn't have any proof. Only one picture with me and her at a restaurant, which is outside of work hours, so they said they won't take any actions against that as it doesn't prove anything inappropriate. Her husband is actually a very abusive man, and even if I know I shouldn't have been involved in their shit, I couldn't let her down as I knew I will regret if that crazy man will kill her or something. Today I convinced her to file a police report against him. We're in Nick, so no big hopes for a restraining order and physical abuse. She is also in contact with a divorce lawyer and is looking for a new place. Her oldest son called her yesterday and told they will be on her side against their father. Her son was actually trying to defend her when she got beaten by her husband. So this is the update for now. She's afraid to go outside of my apartment, but she promised me she will find a new place to stay in less than 2 weeks. So now I'd like to have some feedback from you strangers. Did I do wrong for letting her stay at my place? Should have had refused to let her stay even if she didn't have any place to stay knowing her husband wants to kill her. 6th story. My dad became suddenly sick last month. I came to be with him and my mom. After he died, I started going through all the old pictures in his closet and I found his journal. I don't know how I ended up reading the whole thing without even pausing to consider, but here I am. He wrote every day about how it's been 3 years since he found out about my mom having an affair and it was killing him. She refused to talk about it and he said she wasn't nice to him. I'm shocked. They played it off like nothing. I had no clue. Meanwhile, she gets drunk every night and cried to me about how he was the love of her life. And she regretted not being more into holding hands, how she thought that hurt his feelings. I think she might believe that's the worst thing she's done. I'm so confused and angry. I already hated her, and now I hate her more, but I am still being drawn into her game, because I feel like I should see her as a human with flaws, but it feels like she's too much. She ruined my teenage years by being controlling, telling me I would be ugly if I didn't look like her, literally forcing me to have the same haircut and wear the same clothes. I've spent so many years, 39 now, just dismantling all the BS she put me through. Not to mention I just remember how drunk she was and she's worse now. But she works a job and present's fine. I guess honestly I think people are afraid to mention it. She's a pig, she's disgusting, and she destroyed my dad. He was depressed for so many years and I had no clue because I stayed far away from her and he wouldn't visit without her. I'm so torn up. I love my dad, he was a wonderful man. I feel like she broke his heart and his will to live. Now, she's just going to live off the money he saved for retirement and I wish she'd just rot. Before I found out, I was really trying to sympathize with her, but I feel like I'm done. 7th story. I've been seeing a guy off and on casually for about 10 years. We both work a lot, so throughout the years we would get together here and there when we had downtime and go to dinner, chill, etc. We each have zero expectations and just enjoy each other when we can. We both travel for work and often send pics of wherever we are, especially if we're doing something fun. Even when we go long stretches of not seeing each other, we text multiple times a week, often all evening long. So we're in pretty constant communication. We live in the same city. Last month he sent a picture from the KY Derby standing next to a horse, and I noticed a wedding band on his ring finger. When I asked, "Is that a wedding band?" he answered, "No, it's a lucky horseshoe ring for the Derby." Clearly not a horseshoe shape, but okay, whatever. Maybe it was a weird angle. I'm out of town this week, but we have a date to hang out this weekend when I return. We mostly go to dinner, maybe grab a drink or see a movie, and then back to his place for the remainder of the night. For some reason, intuition, I googled him this morning. Haven't googled him since we first met in 2014. And lo and behold, up come many public images of him attending big fundraisers and social events with the same woman, who is wearing a wedding ring, as is he in the pics where his hand is visible. Also their wedding announcement in the paper and her Facebook, which shows they were exclusive since 2015. A year after he and I started dating, loose term, it was very casual. I always assumed he and I both saw other people throughout the years, and I'm totally fine with that as we are not exclusive. His beautiful, very accomplished wife lives on the opposite coast and it appears most of the pictures are from her city. Who knows, maybe they have an open marriage, but why wouldn't he either tell me up front or admit it when asked about the wedding band? They were married in 2022. Just a lot for me to process. I mean, I'm not heartbroken that he's with someone else. I'm confused why he ever opted to be deceptive in the first place, given we are not in a committed relationship and are in near daily communications for 10 years. I literally have texts from him on his wedding day. So why does someone cheat on his gorgeous, wealthy wife? I get that he may not value me or our friendship enough to consider being honest me, but I'm baffled what causes men to cheat when she is gorgeous, and their pictures make it look like they are madly in love with each other. Any answers?